that boy. Man, I'm having a little fun on this one. Keep sleeping on me too. Are you down to ride? Come and take a ride. Are you down to ride? Come and take a ride. Can you hold me down? Cause I can hold you down. Can you hold me down? Cause I can hold you down. Are you down to ride? Come and take a ride. Can you hold me down? Cause I can hold you down. Are you down to ride? Come and take a ride. Can you hold me down? Cause I can hold you down.
Speaking of, Bill O'Brien talked on the DeAndre Hopkins trade. He talked on it. He said, if I'm reading this right, he says, we feel very good about being able to, the 40th pick, being able to get David Johnson O'Brien. We really feel good about what we looked at in the analytics of being base production that was leaving our team. The production, but Bill O'Brien, he's the head coach and the general manager, okay? My cousin has stated this. My cousin's a Texans fan. He said, when you're the head coach, right, you're supposed to be focused on now. You're supposed to be focused on getting us wins, getting us to the playoffs, and hopefully we can be good enough to most likely try to get to, because every team goal, no matter if you went 0-16 last season, no matter if you went 16-0 last season, your goal for the next season is to get to a championship. Okay, you may say teams may try to tank for Trevor, No, every team's main goal should be getting to a championship, right? So Bill O'Brien, you're the general manager. The general manager is supposed to be focused on the future, on building this team up, not the now. On building the team up for the future, getting pieces for the future. So looking at it, why trade DeAndre Hopkins? Why trade a 27-year-old all-pro receiver, right? For David Johnson, who was injured, and he was probably counted as the best running back a couple years ago in the league. And, obviously he's excited about the 40th pick. But, again, I don't think the Texans have a first-round draft pick. That's the thing. So, what they got to look at, they got to go in the second round and try to get a playmaker. Obviously, you say, hey, Texas signed Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is becoming a traveling vet. New Orleans, New England, Los Angeles, Houston. Okay? Looking at Brandon Cooks and be like, oh, he's still good. He can be the speed. He can be the speed. Also heard that, kind of, if you're Deshaun Watson, you're used to throwing that ball up. You're used to throwing it up to DeAndre Hopkins. And, DeAndre Hopkins is a big dude, so you're used to throwing it up to him. And then now you're kind of looking at, the smaller receiver as your number one in Brandon Cooks, And obviously you may say you have Kenny Stills, you have Kiki QT, you have all those guys, but you're so used to your number one. You're so used to your number one being possibly not if the top 3, top 2 best receiver in the league. I think the only comparison is really for best receiver is Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, but I think you're looking at that and saying, hey, was it a good idea for me to be GM and coach, knowing, GM's supposed to focus on the future, coach is supposed to focus on now? Like, we don't know what's going to happen there, man. So I feel like, hey, what can they do and how will they be able to kind of like turn the situation and still get to a playoff? But I still do feel that if you're the Tech, they're still a playoff team. It depends on what the Colts and Phillip Rivers do, but in my mind, the Texans are still a playoff team and they're still playoff hopefuls. But yes, you guys, that is the end of the first episode of my SportsUnder20 podcast. If y'all like this, if y'all like me just talking sports, not doing gaming, not doing reactions, just showing y'all my knowledge in sports and my love for sports, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment on this video, and like it. If y'all did all that, peace.